The Irish Chamber Orchestra have had great success this year with its I Create Online series, which, as you know, has been an artistic collaboration between the orchestra and artists from all over Ireland. Limerick City is the home of the ICO, but it also has a creative heart with so many talented people sharing this space. My guest for today needs no introduction. He is the celebrated Limerick author of plays such as Pigtown and Bread Not Profits. Mike Finn, thank you very much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm good, Matthew. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good.
Great. Well, now I know that you're a prolific playwright, a screenwriter and an actor, and most recently you've written a fantastic limerick for the ICO's Christmas Fantasia. Before we talk about the ICO, I know you've been writing limericks, a limerick a day, as far as I understand it, since COVID started. I have to say I particularly enjoyed the Hungarian Vulgarian one. That's one of my favourite ones. But what inspired you to do this? What made you think about it?
Well, when this whole COVID business started and we went into lockdown the first time around back in March, I just thought, well, I'd like to do something to keep people's spirits up and to keep my own brain ticking over. And I like writing limericks. I've been writing them for years, and I find them reasonably easy to do. They're quick, they're short. And being from Limerick as well, I have obviously a certain affinity with them. So I thought, look, I'll write a limerick every day about the craziness that is the whole lockdown situation. And I'll do that every day until the end of the pandemic. So it's called a limerick a day. A limerick a day keeps the pandemic away. And I thought at the start, because we were thinking at the start, or the word was, like, we go into lockdown, everybody stay at home and behave ourselves for about a month, 30 days, and it'll all be over. And here we are, is it 273 days later, and I'm still doing them. And I'm now gone very kind of dogged and stubborn, and thankfully a day hasn't gone by without me doing it. It's a bit like homework sometimes. There are times when I regret it. It comes to like 11 o'clock at night and I go, I haven't done anything yet. It's like being back at school. But they're fun, and it's keeping me ticking over, my brain working, and I can say every day I've written something.
Yeah, fantastic. Now for the ICO one, you were given a brief of the characters that had to be included, and it's a kind of, as far as I understand it, quite a loose kind of thing about a Christmas Fantasia. So when you've got characters, a rough kind of title guideline, how do you go about sort of starting, just for, so people know, and also just in terms of that, when you've made it and you've done your writing part, it's handed over to someone else. How is the animation? How is it in terms of your imagination?
Well, it's a funny old one, this one. I have never worked with Phil before. Phil Shanahan, who did the animation, he's terrific. I've never even met the man. This is the closest we've come. I had a Zoom call with him and I had a couple of telephone conversations with him. I'm looking forward to having a coffee with him when all this is over. How it came about was that he was working on some animation already for the ICO, for some amazing virtual Christmas cards that the ICO have done. And so some of the characters were there already. And to be honest, that suited me down to the ground. I like working to somebody else's brief or responding to other artists' stuff, because there's nothing worse than the tyranny of the blank page or the tyranny of the blank screen. So I'm just going, what am I going to write about? So the fact that he had some of these characters already there, and they're beautiful characters, they're wonderful seasonal characters like a penguin and a polar bear and so on, beautiful magical animation. It just inspired me, so I just kind of decided to write to that. And so I strung together, there were a number of different characters on a number of his Christmas cards, and I decided to string them all together into a kind of a rough narrative of this polar bear and a penguin walking through this magical wonderland, and then they meet this wonderful Christmassy animal orchestra who are playing, who I dubbed the ICO, ICY, the Icy Orchestra. So it was just a joy to work with Phil's animation, and I won't say it was easy, but it was comparatively easy. I just started writing and out it came. But it was nice to have something to respond to. It was a starting point for me. Otherwise, we might still be looking at a blank screen.
Yes, absolutely. Now, also, I want to ask a kind of more serious question, really. I was reading on the internet, and I'm not sure if it was you or someone else said about Bread Not Profit, that it's about ordinary people being caught up in extraordinary times, but still having to put bread on the table. And that really sort of stood out to me as, in a way, a kind of metaphor for the last year. And we're all in these really extraordinary times. And I know lots of people have really struggled with all sorts of things, but I wondered how you've kept your creative inspiration alive.
It's been tricky. I mean, it's difficult for everybody. It's obviously difficult for people like you, for performers. I mean, performances can't happen at all. Now, I'm mostly writing these days. I haven't really acted that much in recent times. So on a day-to-day basis, the lockdown didn't affect my life hugely. I kind of sit here at this desk most days. I work from home anyway. I mean, obviously my life is contracted. I don't get to see my family as much as I'd like to. I haven't been to the theatre, obviously, nearly a year, cinema and so on. It's hard for sure. Nothing going on. Money streams drying up and stuff. I hadn't thought of Bread Not Profits and that extraordinary time back in Limerick in 1919 as being a kind of a metaphor for now. I mean, definitely ordinary people. We will look back on this in years to come, and it's definitely the most extraordinary thing to happen in most of our lifetimes. And yet, I'm having conversations with other people recently when we think of what maybe some of our grandparents went through. I mean, there are people who lived through 2 world wars and the so-called Spanish flu back in 1918, which killed many more people than the current pandemic and so on. I mean, people persevere. People survive stuff. Look at the Holocaust and people who made lives after that, and we kind of look at those stories from that time. This is a very Christmassy conversation. we look at those things now, or look back at them and go, how did they live through those things? But I mean, hope and people have a great spirit and a sense of community. I think that maybe we will come out of this slightly better. It has made us all, I think. The very fact that we can travel less. We just have to make do with stuff. Maybe a greater spirit of community will come out of this.
Yeah, and also I think that there is an element of appreciating what you've got, and that is the spirit of Christmas, really, isn't it?
It is for sure, and in many respects, I keep saying this to Mairead, my partner, that we are really lucky. I mean, we've got a house. I like where I live. I like the people I live with. I like Mairead. I've got a lovely dog. I've got a few bob in the bank, not a lot. But, I think we could ride this out. There are people definitely who are a lot worse off than us, And the very fact that we work from home anyway meant that, our lifestyle didn't change hugely. I'm not missing an office that I get to go to or whatever. So it's definitely it did make me grateful for what I have.
Mm-hmm. Mike, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today, and I hope you have a very, very happy Christmas.
And the same to you, Matthew. Look forward to seeing everybody in the new year.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.